do appreciate it. Okay, we'll go to Bertha next. So warm welcome, Bertha, and thanks again. Over to you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sean and Crystal. I'm just gonna start sharing my slides before I start. Okay, play. All right, hi everyone, and my name is Bertha Chen, and I'm actually a advanced studies scholar. So just a little bit of context. I think kind of what I'm observing here will kind of lead out nicely from what Crystal was talking about in terms of influences. And my body of work, for those of you who are not familiar, because I'm actually new to the sort of Asian studies, has mostly been based on a lot more American TV and film franchises. And of late, it's returned to locating sort of Asianness in this text. And so it's also turned to sort of Asian American, Asian British, Asian Australian celebrities, which for the sake of not having to repeat all this sort of 3 different nationalities over and over again, I'm going to term sort of Asian Anglo celebrities at the moment, at least until I can find a better term to kind of replace this. With this, it's also signaled a return to what I kind of a return to this original conception of transcultural fandom. And Lori Morimoto and I wrote a piece on transcultural fandom, but it also came from a synergy from both of our own works. So my original sort of concept was, more than it was about fans' cultural affinity to a media text, regardless of where that text was actually produced or where the fan was from. It was also to look at fans from sort of migrant diaspora communities, sort of third culture kids, as well as fans from Southeast Asian countries like myself, who have grown up with sort of different access to multiple forms of media, which subscribes to very different kind of industrial practices. So for example, like Hollywood and Hong Kong, for instance, which were, essentially the kind of media that I've grown up with, but who have essentially been silenced or erased in studies of fan cultures all this while. So my observation at the height of the discourse on the pandemic on social media has tended to focus on the Asian Anglo celebrities, because again, that sort of rhetoric and that discourse has been kind of deeply embedded in anti-Asian racism, but also sort of Southeast Asian celebrities who are popular in their home countries, as well as in the West. So, and similarly, with the West, kind of celebrities in Southeast Asia use their social media platforms on Twitter, on Instagram, and I think these are the 2 kind of popular platforms here to project a lot of very positive stay-at-home messages, participate in kind of fundraising, online concerts, and the like. And I think what is different, however, is actually the fan response. And here I'm going to take the Instagram feed of Indonesian actor Joe Taslim as an example. So for those of you who may not have heard of Taslim, his breakthrough role was in a 2011 critically acclaimed Indonesian film, The Raid. And he currently stars in Cinemax's Warrior, which is based on an original concept by Bruce Lee. Has been in 2 international film franchises, Star Trek and Fast and Furious, and will be in the upcoming James Wan adaptation of the video game franchise Mortal Kombat. I think that's scheduled for release sort of next year. So for me, sort of celebrities like Taslim, fellow Indonesian actor Iko Uwais, and sort of other Asian Anglo celebrities like Daniel Wu, Louise Tan, Henry Golding, kind of Gemma Chan, sort of Crazy Rich Asians fame, are fascinating in their sort of in-betweenness. And this is exhibited through the photos that they choose to post, the causes they take up, and their interactions with their fans. So Taslim posts behind the scenes photos from his film projects. I think you can probably see some of it here further down, which includes photos with co-stars, advertisement shoots, vacations with his family, and of late, a lot of public service announcements post on the practice of social distancing and the importance of staying at home, and as well as kind of several posts on Black Lives Matter. His promotion of GoPay, for instance, which is a digital wallet, is embedded into a post urging his fans to stay at home, but also to sort of remind them to use the digital wallet and to tip food delivery frontliners. And some of the posts are in dual language, both in English and Indonesian. Video posts also feature the actor sort of switching between the 2 languages. And fan responses are generally polite and full of praise and respect for the actor. They never really comment on the coronavirus itself, except sort of occasional reminders for Taslim to stay safe, to thank him for kind of remembering the frontliners. And in essence, none of the posts actually mention the way in which Indonesia handles the pandemic, or sort of as reported in the media, nor does it actually mention the Indonesia whatever hashtag that was trending on social media at one point. And so his focus is not just on medical frontliners though, but also on food delivery personnel. And his posts are liked, not just by fans, but also by his co-stars and celebrity fans. They're sort of suggesting what Peter Turner in a 2019 piece in Celebrity Studies that came out last year calls the interstellar community, sort of a form of visual networking between stars that creates a sense of exclusivity. And this is sort of the link that I found. So all of the celebrities that I've mentioned are actually sort of linked within this sort of interstellar community. But I also kind of argue that it's not just about exclusivity, but also building an interstellar community of support for these, particularly for these sort of Asian and Asian Anglo celebrities in that sense. So this is sort of what's happening within sort of Southeast Asia, but I'm also going to very quickly turn to Taslim's Mortal Kombat co-star, Louis Tan, who's been very vocal about Asian representation on the Hollywood screen. And Tan was tagged on Twitter in a conversation about coronavirus and racism in the States by fellow Asian Anglo celebrities and media industry insiders when Donald Trump and the White House kind of referred to the coronavirus as Kung Flu. Which prompted him to offer beating up racists for free. So he's a martial arts practitioner. It wasn't a very long conversation, but there were sort of bits and pieces of conversations happening on sort of Instagram stories and all of those things. Similarly, Harry Shum Jr. Of Glee and Crazy Rich Asians fame participated in an awareness campaign to remove the Association of Chinese Restaurants from the coronavirus in the States. The video post was viewed more than 500,000 times on Instagram, and it prompted sort of very lengthy discussions and comments from fans about racism in the US in particular and other parts of the Western world. And I think, it sort of presents a very different contrast to the comments and discussions that was happening on Taslim's post, for instance, and which I think sort of signals to a larger, sort of more complex conversation, not just about race, but also about how the pandemic has been identified and reported in the media. And it's sort of nice that it sort of leads into a lot of the discourse about Black Lives Matter and systemic racism now. And this is sort of all have been happening in the background. And I will end there and have Dorothy come in with her presentation.
God, Bertha, that was outstanding. Thank you. Wow, so much to think about. It was so eloquent as well. And wow, come on. Thank you so much.